Do you have any enemies? Great. Why is it great? Well, according to Winston Churchill, it's a good thing to have enemies. Why is this? Well, we're going to look at a quote by the former UK Prime Minister in just 1 second. Churchill was the leader of the UK during World War II. He fought against Nazi Germany, and of course he himself had enemies in Nazi Germany. So this quote by Churchill is looking at why having enemies is a good thing. Sounds a bit strange, right? But let's go to the quote. So Winston Churchill said, "You have enemies? Good. That means you've stood up for something sometime in your life." So he's saying that if you have enemies, it's a good thing because that means you've stood up for what you believe in. So many times when people stand up for their beliefs, other people oppose them and therefore they have enemies. So when you have enemies, it's not necessarily a good thing, but he's saying that it means you've done something good. It means you've stood up for your beliefs. Sometimes these beliefs might not be a good thing, but he's saying that it shows you have character and you have integrity because you are strong enough to stand up for your own beliefs. Now, this use of stand up, what does it mean? Well, it means that you haven't backed down, okay? In the face of adversity or in the face of attacking, you haven't backed down and given up. You've stood up. You've resisted the attacks against you. So standing up for something means you don't back down. You stick with your beliefs. We can also use this expression to say, I'm standing up for someone, which means I'm supporting them in their cause or their belief against some attack. So if I say, I'm standing up for my friend, this means my friend is being attacked in some way about something, but I'm supporting him. So we can use it in very everyday English. So it's a good expression. Let's look at the first part of this quote because it's quite interesting. We have a rhetorical question, which means a question that doesn't need an answer. So Churchill said, "You have enemies?" Now notice the intonation of this question. It's rising. You have enemies? Good. This is a very common structure in English. The intonation and the form of the question. Now this question doesn't have a question word, like do you have enemies would be the typical way to formulate this question. But we use this kind of question when we know what the answer is. We know something is true, but we use this structure just for effect. So imagine if my son or daughter didn't do their homework, okay, and as punishment they cannot go outside to play. So my son or daughter, I see that they haven't done their homework, so I say, "You haven't done your homework? Okay, you're not going outside." Do you see? So I know already that he or she didn't do their homework. I'm just using the question for effect. And typically, we answer the question ourselves, like Churchill did. You have enemies? Good. Okay? So he's not asking, do you have enemies? He knows most people, or in this case, he's aiming his quotation at the people who have enemies. So he knows these people have some enemies in their life. Let's look at the next part. That means you've stood up for something sometime in your life. Now he's used the present perfect here. You have stood up, because the present perfect is used for something that happened in your life. So from when you were born up to the present day, we use the present perfect. So if I say, I have visited Japan twice, I use the present perfect because this means I have visited Japan twice in my lifetime. Okay? So this is how we use the present perfect. This is just one use of the present perfect. There are a couple more uses. Now, he also uses something and sometime. Sometime in your life means an unspecified time. Okay? In the past, we can use it for the future as well. So I can say, sometime I want to visit Australia. This means in the future. I want to visit Australia at any time in my life. Unspecified. Could be next year. It could be 10 years from now. But sometime I want to visit Australia. Notice there's no S. This is not the same as sometimes. Sometimes is regularly in your life. For example, sometimes I visit Japan. This means I regularly go there. But sometime I want to visit Japan is different. It means some point in my life in the future. But Churchill used it to talk about the past. So sometime in your life means in the past, at an unspecified point. So that's Churchill's quote. I hope you understand it a bit better. I think there's lots of good English to learn from it, and some good wisdom as well.